Hi, I'm Raven, and in this video I'm going to be talking about my recent colonoscopy. Now that means that I'm going to be talking about my pooper. So if you don't want to hear about this sort of medical procedure type stuff, I've got plenty of other videos you could be watching, so feel free to skip off this. I'm making this video primarily for people who are going to be undergoing a similar procedure, because there's a lot that the written material does not quite express across to you. Plus, it's always good to hear other people's opinions of what the procedure was like. Because after all, we're all very different people. Different people react in different ways to the treatments, and we all have our own unique insights into what the experience was like. I've broken it down into 5 sections, which you can find links to and time codes in the description. There may even be some on screen if I'm feeling very generous. There are 5 main parts to the colonoscopy procedure: the pre-appointment with the nurse, the low fibre diet, the laxative, the procedure itself, and after the procedure has happened. The pre-appointment is pretty much exactly what you'd expect. You go in, the nurse will give you some documentation, give you your laxative, and just tell you generally all the stuff that you need to know before going into it. There may even be some paperwork, consent forms, stuff to sign, things like that. That was all very straightforward. In my case, the nurse was very friendly and what have you, as you would expect, and there was nothing there particularly out of the ordinary or unexpected. Naturally, it's worth paying attention to, and you should take all of the literature and materials, which I'm sure you'll put alongside your own research, to good use. Because the next step is the low fibre diet. I wasn't expecting this, but it does make sense. Essentially, the less fibre you have in your system, the less residue there is, the easier it is when you take the laxative, and the better chance of having a clean result in the colonoscopy. The diet can be a bit bland, but it's only for a few days, and you can still do a lot with it. There are a lot of things that are surprisingly low in fibre, which is probably why they're considered to be not very good for you. Typically speaking, you're talking your chicken, white bread, rice, no vegetables with skin, stuff like that. But you can still do plenty of flavourful things even without fibre in there. Now the part that did suck, let's talk about the laxative. In my case, I had Moviprep, the normal flat Moviprep. They do an orange version. I did not have that. By default, it's a lemon flavour, which means that it's medicinal lemon flavour, that unique flavour of lemon that only medicine can bring. So the idea is quite simple. I had my appointment in the morning, so I had breakfast, and then I could not eat anything until after the colonoscopy has happened. I take my first Moviprep at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and then my second one at 8 to 9 o'clock in the evening. So, Moviprep itself. It's 2 pouches of powder, you mix it up with a litre of water, you have to drink that over the course of a couple of hours, and you do that twice. So that's 2 litres of water mixed up with Moviprep, in addition to which you then have some normal fluids just to stop yourself from dehydrating. As you're drinking this stuff, you're going to want to take it a couple of gulps at a time. At first, this is going to be extremely simple. You can probably manage 2 or 3 gulps, give it 10 to 15 minutes, get another 2 or 3 gulps. By the time you've been doing that for an hour or so, the gulps become much, much harder. By the time you've finished your first pitcher, you are not looking forward to your second pitcher. By the time you're halfway through your second pitcher, you're probably going to want to vomit. That is how bad this stuff is. Never mind what it's doing to you inside. Just talking purely about the taste and physically having to drink 2 litres of this crap. It is an awful experience I do not care to repeat. I don't know why it has to taste so bad, but it does. Scientists, get on this. As for the effect of the laxative itself, no pain, no discomfort, no bloating. It literally just comes out of its own accord without any pressure or pain on your part. It just whoop, comes straight out. So that in itself was pleasant. Just a shame it doesn't taste very nice. I did not manage to finish my 2 litres. I stopped halfway through the second one because I could not take any more. By that stage, I was just It was just clear. Clear stuff was just coming out, and I decided, that's it. I cannot do any more, and I went to bed. I would say as a safe rule of thumb, if all that's coming out is clear liquid and there's no particulates or stool, you're probably okay to just let things settle down and stop. Naturally, you should try and finish the stuff if you can. Maybe you like the flavour. But if you get into the point where you're having to choke it down and you feel like you're going to be sick, it's probably better that you stop. I set myself up in the bathroom with my tablet. I literally just watched live streamers play games, check Reddit occasionally. But for the most part, I was just there to passively view. Naturally, you're probably going to get dead legs after a while, so do take the time between movements to stand up and walk around. It takes about an hour for it to start taking effect, after which you'll find that you get about 10-minute intervals between excretions. The colonoscopy itself was relatively straightforward. I had it under sedation, but we'll talk about that a bit later. The hardest part of the colonoscopy was waiting. I had to wait for an hour and a half just to get into the hospital gown. That was a very, very long time when you're just sitting there, bored out of your skull. Thankfully, once the hour and a half had gone by, things moved along far quicker. They inserted a catheter into my arm, which is somewhere up here, might even have a little dicky mark there, which was a relatively painful experience because I have no problem with needles. The catheter, I've never had one before, literally sits on the top of your arm, you can't feel it, it just sort of sticks out and is there. You might be a little self-conscious and aware of it, but it seems absolutely fine. There's even a big old sticky dressing that keeps it in place so it doesn't rip out your arm. Once I was eventually taken through to the theatre, you lay down on the table, you lay on your side, and that's when they gave the sedation. Now in my case, the sedation did not have very much effect at all. I was kind of hoping it might have some crazy hippie trip effect, but in my case, I did not really feel anything. I was fully conscious the whole time. I was aware and cognizant. The operation did seem to go by quite quickly, so I'm not going to say that it was completely without effect, but I would say that given the extremes that sedation can have, I was quite on the resilient end of it. Now, the procedure itself. I did not experience any pain or discomfort or bloating. What I did experience, about a third of the way into the procedure, was a really, really intense desire to poop. And that was probably the most... That's probably the only pain, discomfort I can really think of. It's difficult to describe. But essentially you've got a big plastic tube in your pooper, and you have this intense urge to bear down and pass it out. And naturally you can't do that. And so you're locked in this immovable force and the unstoppable object. And it's just like, what's going to happen? There was a gas breathing tube, which I assume had some sort of additional sedative or something in it, and I did have to use that at that point. But again, I was cognizant, and after a couple of minutes it did pass. It's important just to breathe, try and stay calm, try and stay rational, and it will pass. The doctor went all the way down to the very end, and he took 5 biopsies along the way. The biopsies, you can't feel them. A little forky thing comes out, twangs onto the side of your gut lining. You see it, it's quite impressively elastic. It boings back, and it's just this little bloody crack. Little one, you know, through the tube, through a microscope, it looks big, but it's actually a really, really little thing. And that obviously will come back out with the tube. You don't feel them. I have not had any blood in my stools afterward. It's something that they've warned that you can get. So in my case, I'd say I had a fairly clean break with all of this. And I would say within 15 minutes, the whole thing was done and sorted. The tube was out, and I was wheeled through to post-op. The post-operation experience, relatively simple. They give you a drink if you want a biscuit or something. I personally had someone standing by with an Eat Natural protein-packed bar, because I hadn't eaten for about 30 hours by that point. And I guess depending on your reaction to the sedation, and whether there are any complications in surgery, your experience will change. It's such a simple procedure that I imagine anything going wrong would be exceptionally rare. And in my case, with a clean result, I'd say that the biggest complication you're going to find is getting yourself going again. And I don't mean that in a sense that maybe you're feeling groggy and drained, what have you. You can immediately go away and start eating. I had a nice chicken salad sandwich, some crisps and what have you. What I mean by getting going is getting your digestive system going again. Because your stomach is empty, has no fibre, you're dosed to the nines with mother prep, and it's going to be very difficult for you to pass a solid stool. It's been 3 days now and I'm finally back to solids. But for the first day, I could not keep food inside me. After about an hour and a half of eating, out it comes. On the second day, took a bit longer, it was a bit more solid, but it still was uncomfortable. Now we're back to nice solid particles, so it's probably important to make sure that you crank in some fibre nice and early on to just realign your stomach, get the bowel nicely coated with that beautiful, wonderful fibre. My colonoscopy result was completely clear, so there's nothing to worry about on that facet. It's such a unique and individual experience that I just wanted to share it with anyone who is going to undergo similar treatment and is looking to find out what other people felt going through it. The hardest part, as many people have said across the internet, is the laxative. It tastes like crap. And then it makes you crap. But it really, really tastes bad. Nothing to be anxious about, you just gotta grit your teeth and get through it. I tried mixing it with squash, didn't work. I can't imagine there's anything you can do to make that stuff taste better. Keep it neat and just drink it down and have something to the side to get rid of the taste. Don't try and choke it down all in one go. You will be sick. There's no way you could drink all of that entire litre and not vomit. No. Admittedly, it's easier said than done. The best thing that I can think to say for people undergoing the procedure is just to take a breath, relax, and just let it happen. There's nothing particularly to be worried about. The procedure, whilst someone is sticking a tube up your bum, it's not especially lastingly invasive. You don't really feel anything. It just happens. You can watch on the screen. I watched the entire procedure on the screen. The inside of my gut is a disgustingly fascinating place. They came across several pools of liquids that stuck in the bowel. It felt quite weird having that sucked out with the tube. It's a bit like someone cleaning the poop out for you that you can't poop yourself. Yeah, it was a weird experience. The whole thing is a weird experience. But just relax and just take it as it comes, because it'll be over quicker than you think. 30 hours, it's a long time when you take it all in one chunk. But really, that's all it is. I'm 3 days past it, and it's better to know that there's nothing wrong in there than for you to keep on wondering why. But that's going to do it for this video. If you have any questions about my colonoscopy experience, perhaps you're going to have one yourself and you have a question that I have not answered here in the video, feel free to leave a comment. But until the next video, I'm Raven, and that's enough about my pooper.